Ciao ragazzi, siamo qui con Leland Sklar e Marco Ferrari. Marco è new entry del GGM Studios Official Toto Italia e oggi intervisteremo la new entry new old entry dei Toto, che tornerà in tour quest'anno per sostituire il grande David Hongate.
Okay, we are here with our friend Leland Sklar in tour with Judith Owen. It's always a pleasure to meet you, and we would like to ask you some questions for all GGM Studios and Toto fans.
My pleasure.
Okay, first of all, how did the collaboration with Judith begin?
It actually began with her husband. She's married to Harry Shearer, who was he's Derek Smalls in Spinal Tap, and he also does the voices on The Simpsons show. And Harry and I have been friends for many years, and Judith came and played at one of our shows, and I kind of went, really? This is your wife? And we hit it off immediately, and then she called me and asked me if I could put the guys together to do her album. So I called Russ Kunkel and Waddy Wachtel, and Lenny Castro also played on the record. And we went in the studio in Hollywood and cut the album, and we've been promoting it for the past couple of years and working, and just finished a new album, and it's all really exciting. I love her dearly. She's one of my best friends.
Yeah,
she's great.
And will you be touring in the future with Judith, considering your commitment with Toto?
Yeah, from what I understand, that the first leg of the Toto tour is the end of January through late March. Because I know we're here in Italy, I think on the 1st and 2nd of February next year. So Toto finishes this first leg of Europe and Japan at the end of March. Then I think we're starting with Judith in April, and we're going to work to start promoting the new album and doing gigs with that.
Again in Europe?
Probably Europe. There's a couple of other things that are going on that might actually come about for her that would be really good touring situations. But they're still waiting for that, but that would still be Europe. And so that'll be for a while. And then Toto is probably going to work in the States in late summer, because I know Luke's going to be out doing more Ringo gigs. So I'm trying to balance both. I'd like to do both, and if it works out, it'll be...
There is also the new album coming out?
Yeah. So that'll be at the beginning of next year. Yes. We've finished recording. Now it has to go be mastered and everything. It's been mixed.
You recorded here in Europe?
We did a little in Europe, in the UK.
Okay.
We did some songs at Brian Ferry's studio in London, and then we cut most of it in Los Angeles. But it's beautiful. It's a great record.
Yeah.
And then we have cut way too many songs. So during the year we'll release the new album, and then as time goes on throughout the year they'll release like singles or EPs, so that it keeps adding up to it. But some very fun stuff.
You composed the songs forever?
I worked on a couple of songs with Judith, but she's pretty much the composer on all of her stuff. But we also have covers, because she's so good with covers. So like Aquarius and things like that.
It will be on the album?
I'm not sure if it's on the album or if it's going to be one of the songs released afterwards. They're still deciding. I don't have anything to do with that.
I love your part with harmonics on the new song.
Yeah, it's fun. So it's all good. We're having a great time.
Okay. So you come back with Toto with a different band, except for Luke. Then 2007. What do you expect?
I'm so excited because it's such a different group from the last time I toured with Toto. I worked with Shannon Forrest in Nashville, and he's producing Michael McDonald's new record. And I worked on that a couple of years ago. It's been a very slow process. But I did a bunch of sessions with Shannon, and Shannon's playing reminds me a great deal of Jeff. And it's going to be fun to play on that level, because I mean, I love Simon dearly. It's a different attitude, but when I hear Shannon playing, just the pockets, so good. And to be out with Paige and Steve Porcaro is going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love Luke, you know, and Joe is terrific too, and I'm pretty sure Lenny's going to be there again, and I do tons of sessions with Lenny, so it's like a family out there. So it'll be fun just to do the songs with this different lineup. But I've seen their show twice. I just saw them at the Greek Theater in LA with Yes, and then I saw them last year when they were with Michael McDonald. and they sound great. And I mean, you know, when I heard him in L.A. just a couple of months ago, yeah, Hungate is just a dear old friend of mine, and he played his ass off. It sounded great with him. I was so thrilled when he came back to the band, because that really got it back to the original lineup again, and I thought it was great. But I guess at this point he's just, he'd like to just kind of relax. They spent a long time on the road, and he's said he's just not that big of a road dog anymore, and he'd like to just relax. So when whatever decision went on with them, that's when Steve called me and asked if I'd consider coming back, and I said I'd love to. Are you kidding? I love this band, so it'll be fun.
Okay. And you did some interviews in the past with artists like Jim Keltner, John Ferraro, Michael Thompson about Jeff Porcaro. Was your personal idea, or maybe a project to be published on DVD?
It was just, I love Jeff dearly. Jeff was one of my favorite drummers that's ever lived. And I kind of just thought it would really be nice to have other drummers, especially, talk about him. And the first one I did was Keltner, because I know how close they were. And when I kind of looked at it and his reflections on it, then I started talking to like Ferraro and Bissonette and John Robinson, and then I had Bill Schnee, who worked with Jeff a lot as an engineer-producer, do it. And I just keep, every once in a while, just grab somebody else, and we sit and talk about Jeff. I had Kurt Pescara did it, Michael Thompson, like you said, did it. So I'm just kind of amassing them. I know that Susan contacted me once and said she's doing a project about Jeff, and asked if it would be possible to use the interviews I've done. And I said, well, sure, you just call me. I haven't heard from her. I don't know what she's actually doing. But every once in a while I just sit somebody down and say, let's talk about Jeff. Because to me, I still go up to Jeff's gravesite, and I just sit there on the bench next to his grave and just kind of just in my heart talk to him, because he and I spent so much time in the studio together. And he was one of the greatest people I've ever known. So it's as fresh today as it was then, though. I mean, everybody still, it's like one of those things that people go, yeah, Jeff. Ooh. Yeah. Carlos Vega was the same way. I mean, there was a small core of these guys that were really...
Recently, Mike.
Oh, no, Mike, I mean, Mike is a whole other thing. I mean, I love Mike so much, and to have seen him suffer for so long was just so unkind and so unfair. And my heart's with that guy all the time. I mean, I've almost thought about just getting a sticker of Mike and putting it on my bass for the tour, just having him close by.
We are with you. Fun.
Yeah,
people.
Yeah, he's dearly missed. I mean, when I was out with them before, I kept hoping that he would call me and say, I'm coming back. Nothing would have made me happier than to leave that band if Mike could have come back and been playing again, because he defined that seat for so many years.
It was part of it.
Yeah, so
it's a tragedy.
Yeah, it's hideous.
And can you tell us a story about Jeff Porcaro that happened during a session you did together?
Oh God!
Many stories.
Oh, many.
Probably.
I'll tell you a very funny one was there was a song. There was a movie called Ordinary People back in it must have been in the '80s, I think, mid '80s, and it was a really popular movie. And one of the main songs in it was Pachelbel's Canon. And so everybody was like the yuppie song. Everybody would play it at their dinner parties and stuff. And it was recorded, and they decided to make it a little bit more radio friendly, so they called Jeff and myself into the studio to put bass and drums on this orchestral track. And it was, Jeff and I got in the studio and we looked in the window, and there was Brooks Arthur, engineering, Richard Perry, and Marvin Hamlish, all sitting in there looking at us, and we looked at each other and said, we were obviously in a car crash on the way to the studio and died, and we've gone to hell. This is the rest of eternity. We're going to be looking at these faces, looking at it. Jeff was amazing. He did so many things in the studio that just... I'll tell you a musical thing. We did a David Crosby record, and there was one track on it that every other drummer in town would have just sat down and just played drum parts. Jeff sat there and he took out his brushes and was just doing things into the overheads and touched a few drums. And when we went and listened to the playback, it was perfect. It was the best part you could have played. And I always told people about Jeff, I said, he's one of the bravest musicians I ever knew, because he went with his heart. Like, most drummers would be afraid to do that because they think the producer thought they sucked. You know, but Jeff just went and did what he knew was right in his heart.
He was inspired.
Yeah, he's inspired, and he didn't take shit from anybody. He just really was.
He was
focused.
sure about himself.
Yeah, he was very confident, but also, you know, he was so musical, and we did so many albums over the years, from Richard Marx to you name it. And every time I walked in the studio, I have many date books, my sessions thing, and there's a lot of them that there'll be a session marked down that will say, like, you know, capital 2 to 6 on it, and it doesn't say the artist or anything. It just says Jeff, because if I knew Jeff was on the date, I knew I was going to have a good time. And I'd walk in and see his road cases and his kit sitting there, and I just knew I was going to have a great day because I loved playing with him so much. Yeah.
And we talked about Mike, and we miss him a lot. And we asked you the same question we did to Sam Porcaro, his son.
Yeah.
And we asked him to choose 3 songs that Mike played as a session player or as a total player.
Yeah.
And which one would you choose? His 3 best songs. Your favorite.
Well, no, it's really hard to say. One of the hardest things is bass players have kind of no community together. I did many sessions where I'd go in and I'd see Jim Keltner and Jim Gordon playing drums, 2, 3 keyboard players, a couple of guitar players, 1 bass. So, you know, there's so many things that he played on that it would be really hard because, God, let me think. I mean, almost everything Mike played was great. He's just one of those really great players.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to say. I mean, everything he did with Toto was beautiful. And he did so many other projects, too. I mean, he's another one of those guys that was one of the staples of the studio scene. So, you know, it wasn't like he was in one band. He was in a band but did lots of other work. And every time I'd hear something he played on, I always liked it. So there's nothing that really stood out. There was a constant level with Mike.
Such a high level.
Yeah, it was a very high level, and he brought his A game, as they say, to every session he did. So, and when I love going back and seeing some of the stuff on YouTube with he and Jeff playing together. You know, it's like when Abe Jr. and Abe Sr. play together. It's like you just go, wow, these guys are some. It's like the Everly Brothers singing. You know, it's like that thing that just happens. That's just because they have the same heartbeat, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Which is your favorite song you would like to play with Toto live?
Oh man, all of them. All of them. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited, you know, to do this. They just sent me the set list of what they're probably going to be doing, so I have to hunker down and start learning, because a lot of the stuff I didn't do on the last tour. Yeah. So I got a lot of stuff to learn. But all the stuff.
Record also.
Yeah, the stuff's all so much fun. I mean, I always love playing Hold the Line. I love playing Africa and Rosanna.
Play Burn, the new record, Burn.
Yeah. And so, but I haven't heard the record yet. Okay. So I've got a lot of work to do, but I've been busy with this. So I'm going to start working on that pretty soon. Just start listening to it all, because I also have a gig to do in December with Phil Collins again, a fundraiser. So I got to relearn all of Phil's music. So I'm kind of going crazy, but all their stuff is wonderful. I mean, it's so much fun because it's all, they've always come up with such great hooks. There's such great playing on all the songs, so they're all fun to play.
But what will be your approach? Playing the same lines, or you?
No, well, what I'll do is,
especially in the new record.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll do is I'll listen to the show that they did with David playing on it, and I'll just kind of get used to hearing how they were doing it. Yeah. And then I'll just start playing along with it. And then eventually, like when I worked with them before, when we did the Falling in Between tour, I wanted to play as close to what Mike was doing as I could, because I didn't want it to suddenly shift like that. But as the tour went on, like the DVD, we cut in the second week of the tour, I was still like thinking about the songs. 4 months later, it was a whole other animal. So I'll learn it as close to what they've been doing as I can. and then once we start playing live, then things will evolve, and I can be my personality in it too. But there is like a huge difference between like the way Mike approached songs and the way Hungate approached songs and the way I approach songs.
Yeah.
So it's not like I suddenly have to go and change everything I do. You know, I mean, it's all very comfortable. It's
it's
an
your
easy
personality, and
I'll just throw in a few things of my own as I feel them. You know, I'm not going to say if what's there is already perfect, I'll just play that. You know, but I just have to spend time with it, and I just in the middle of a tour right now. It's very hard to start learning a new show, so I'll.
Takes time.
Yeah, but we're driving tomorrow morning. We drive to Florence.
Yeah.
And then play tomorrow night, and right after the show we drive to Paris.
Yeah.
So we're going to have like 15, 16 hours in the bus. So I'm just going to put my headphones on and start listening, and just listen, and then I'm going to be all over the UK with Judith, just the two of us, for 2 more weeks after that. So while we're on the little driving in a van, I'll just listen as much as I can so that when I get home, then I can start playing the stuff, and it'll be kind of under, so it's easier by ear. If I wrote charts out or something, it's like, you know, a drug. You can't get rid of it then. So I just have to listen to it a lot. And I'm excited, but there's still time. It's not till mid-January when we start. So I have plenty of time, because I had to learn the last tour in 5 days. So if I have to, I can focus, but I'd rather relax.
You have to be prepared on all the repertoire, or?
Yeah. Well,
because maybe a show is different than.
Well, what they sent me, Steve sent me a set list that he says that they're planning on doing. So I'll just learn that, and then there's other stuff that I might review that maybe we did on Falling in Between that they might say, well, let's throw that in. You know, we've got a bunch of requests, and if I know it, then I'll just review it. If it's new, I'll just sit down and work my butt off and learn it. So it's a process.
Yeah. You have played with many international artists. Which one would you like to play with that you haven't played yet?
Phew. Yeah, there's only a few people.
If there is one.
Well, no, but I mean, I've actually did some stuff indirectly, like with Elton, but I've never really worked with Elton, and I love Elton's work so much. I mean, I would love to do something with Elton. You know, I always loved Paul Simon's writing. It'd be fun to work with Paul Simon, but there's other guys. I mean, I would be happy to be playing with AC/DC or ZZ Top. You know, I love that kind of. You know, that's one of my favorite kinds of music. So. But I feel really fortunate. I don't want to be selfish and I want all the gigs, but there are people I hear that I love that I just go, God, it'd really be fun to work with them. I always loved Bryan Adams. I always loved his voice, and you know, he seemed like a really good guy. Every time I've met him, he seems like a really nice guy. So, you know.
He came back with a new record.
Yeah. But, you know, every time I think about people, then suddenly, like next year, I get a call and you end up with them. So. I feel really, really fortunate. I mean, if my career stopped tonight, and this was the last show I ever played, I'm happy. You know, I don't have to go on forever, but things keep happening, and half of next year's already booked out.
And when you were a kid, you had a dream about playing with someone? You reached your goal?
I never knew what was going to happen. You know, I mean, it's one of these things that every day is an adventure. I kind of look back at my whole career, and I just go, I've been really lucky. I kind of just every day pinch myself and go, is this real? Because I've gotten to work with the best musicians in the world, played on some of the greatest records, and it's hard sometimes to realize it. You just kind of go, this has really been lucky. I walk in a room and Robert Plant's there, and he goes, "Hey Lee, how you doing?" I go, "Why does Robert Plant know me?" You know, it's like, you know, Clapton or somebody. It's funny. Yeah. So I'm like the guys. You know, I'm a kid from the Valley, where Jeff and Mike and all those guys grew up. I grew up in the same area. I was just like 10, 12 years ahead of them, but it's kind of we all came up the same way. So it's kind of funny when you look at that growing up, and suddenly you're on the international stage, and it's always kind of mind-blowing
if you think about it.
Yeah.
And have you ever taught bass during your spare time?
No. I've done some clinics, and I just did a master class at Berkeley in Boston, but I've never really been a teacher. That doesn't interest me. at all. I enjoy doing the master class because I have certain things that I think people need to think about, and everybody who's come to those classes, they really, yeah, but to sit there, you know, as an instructor, that's not for me. That's not the way I think.
What rig will you bring in tour with Toto?
I'm going to figure that out when I get back to Los Angeles. I get home in mid-November, and I'll go out to the warehouse, but I'll probably use a similar rig to the one I used last time with them. I have been with an amp company called Euphonic Audio out of New Jersey, and on the last tour I used their rig, and this one I might use like my 4x10 bottom and a single 12. Last time I think I did 2 10s and a single 12, but I like the 410 cabinet. I've been used with them. I used that with the last time I was out with Phil Collins, and I used it with James Taylor and Carole King and Lyle Lovett and different people, and it works great. So I'll probably use that and their amp head, which is they have a Pro series that I've got, and another one called an iAmp 800. I'll probably take both of those so I have a backup, and then I'll probably use my Dingwall bass again for that because I need a 5-string, and the bass I'm using for Judith is a Warwick Star bass, but it's a 4-string, and I think I need a 5 for Toto. So
you will bring
so I'll just bring my Dingwalls with me. I'll bring 2 of them so that I have one as a backup. But I'm gonna decide that in fact, just tonight I got an email from Jack, who's the tour manager, production manager, and he said we need to talk about gear for Europe. So I'll sort that out over when I get home. I keep it simple though. I don't take a rack or anything. I just take a.
You
don't use any pedals or anything.
Nothing.
No. Keep it real clean. I mean, I'll listen to the stuff. If something needs something, I might have something, but the cleaner the signal to me. So if I can have just the bass and amp, I'm happy with that. And I didn't use anything on the last Toto tour, so I didn't use.
We see on Facebook that apart from music, you love vintage cars and to collect middle fingers.
Oh, absolutely. I expect everybody who comes to the Toto gigs to come up to me and go, I have almost 10,000 pictures. I have all the Toto guys in there. I got lots of people on the last tour. It's a long story why I collect it, but it's all in good spirit. There's nothing negative about it, and so I'm looking forward to meeting everybody. It's going to be fun to see all the Toto fans again. There's such great people. I loved so much being out with those guys before, so I'm really, really excited about being back with them.
Many generations of people.
Yeah, it's that kind of music that, the parents grew up and they played it in the house and the kids liked it, so that they come to the gigs with them. It was the same with the James Taylor Carole King show. We'd have 3 generations in the audience, and they're all holding hands and singing along. Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to have a great tour. It's going to be a wonderful year. And I'm so happy to see you guys.
Salutiamo Leland Sklar, lo ringraziamo e facciamo un saluto official. Ciao!